I was stunned when an old friend casually dropped a bombshell about my wife's secret life, all while I was oblivious. That's when I decided, no more confusion. It was time for her to face the truth. Chapter 1. The sentence that shattered everything. I ran into Ben at a car wash, of all places. We hadn't spoken in nearly 6 years, not since college when we'd shared cheap pizza, hand-me-down textbooks, and the occasional blackout. At first, I didn't even recognize him. He'd filled out, grown a scruffy beard, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw me. "Jake?" "No way," he grinned. We exchanged the usual small talk, careers, old professors, how we'd both aged into boring adulthood. Then he hit me with the line that cracked my world open. "Hey, random, but at the last partner swapping party, your wife was above all praise. Didn't know you were into that too." I laughed at first. Had to, right? "Wait, what?" He shrugged, half smiling. "It's cool, man. I didn't realize you two were part of the scene. She said it was your idea to stay anonymous." He said it so casually, like I was in on the game. But in that instant, I knew he wasn't joking. And worse, my wife had been living a life I didn't even know existed, a life where I was nothing but a cover story. Chapter 2. The lie behind the lifestyle. I didn't confront her that night. No accusations. No slamming doors. When betrayal runs that deep, the loudest reaction only gives them a shield. I stayed quiet. Let her believe I was clueless. While she was in the shower, I sat at the edge of our bed, staring at her phone charger. My mind ran wild. What else had I missed? So began the unraveling. Her laptop was my first window, left open, trusting I'd never pry. She was right once, but not anymore. In her downloads folder, I found them. Files labeled event rules, consent checklist, play party guest list. Again and again, next to her name, wife of Jake, not attending. Over and over, not attending. She'd turned me into her cover story, a phantom husband, a fake presence on a wristband while she played house in someone else's world. Then her laptop pinged, a desktop notification from her encrypted messaging app, Signal, a message from someone she called a goddess. I clicked. The thread was a portal, messages from men and women praising her, arranging secret rendezvous. It stretched back over a year, maybe longer, all built on a lie. "He likes to stay home," she wrote. "He's more reserved, so I protect his privacy." But it wasn't protection. It was erasure. I'd become a placeholder, a silent figure in her twisted narrative. My silence was her consent, or so she told them. That's when I knew this wouldn't end with a fight. I didn't want a confrontation. I wanted her exposed, abandoned, and disconnected from the fantasy she built with my name stitched into her costume. Chapter 3. The spy phase. Watching the person you love become a stranger on screen. It's like feeling your heart split open in slow motion. Suspicion turned into obsession. Digital surveillance became my new skill. She'd used an old Android backup app tied to our Google account. Never thought to disconnect it. She thought I didn't care. She was wrong. Within an hour, I had access to everything. Her encrypted Signal messages. Her secret event invites. Photos taken in hotel rooms I'd never stepped foot in. She posed with strangers in outfits I'd never seen, in places I didn't know she went. The worst part? She looked so alive in them. Smiling like this was the real her, while I was nothing but a name on a mortgage. I mapped every lie. Using metadata and timestamps, I built a timeline, every writing workshop, every wellness retreat, every girls' weekend. They all matched partner swapping events. 8 of them, not one. Every time, she claimed I knew, that I was supportive but stayed private. In some emails, she even wrote, "Jake knows but doesn't want to participate. He's cool with it. Cool with it. Cool with being lied about, used, humiliated." No, but I stayed calm, because calm is how you win a war without ever raising your voice. Fake forgiveness. I lulled her into comfort with tender words and careful touches. That week, I told her I wanted us to reconnect, said I'd been feeling distant and wanted to rebuild the closeness we'd lost. She nearly cried from relief, said she'd noticed I'd been off, and she was so glad I wanted to try. She wrapped me in longer hugs, kissed me deeper. I played along, every word, every smile, while her second phone, the one she didn't know I'd cloned, buzzed with messages from another man calling her his midnight addiction. That night, she whispered in bed, "Thank you for being my anchor." And I thought, anchors drag ships down, sweetheart. I prepared my payload. Compiled everything, screenshots, video stills, voice notes, location logs, into a single, damning folder. Then I split it into 3 targets: her family and closest friends, her workplace's HR and culture committee, the lifestyle club where she'd lied her way in. Each version tailored to show them the piece of her they needed to see. Because I didn't want just revenge. I wanted isolation. Chapter 4. The Exposure. It began with a single email sent from a fresh, anonymous account. Subject: You should know who she really is. The PDF attached held everything: screenshots of her explicit messages, her private event profiles, timelines of those writing retreats that matched hotel bookings, and lurid texts. Photos of her in an outfit I'd never seen, in a room I'd never been in, taken by a man I didn't know. Recipients: her sister, her parents, her 3 closest friends. Within hours, their silence said everything. She had no clue yet. She was across from me, sipping coffee, scrolling Instagram, smiling, while her sister's voicemail played in the cloud recording I'd set up. You lied to all of us, Claire. This is next level SET. And using Jake like that? I'm disgusted. Her mother didn't respond, just quietly removed her from the family group chat. One friend posted a vague quote about how some people weaponize honesty to cover betrayal. By 3 in the afternoon, she finally looked up from her phone, eyes wide. Something weird's going on. Everyone's being so cold. I nodded. Huh, maybe they found out who you really are. She laughed, thought I was joking. She wouldn't be laughing for long. The next wave burned her professional life. She worked in community engagement, an industry built on trust and public perception. I sent HR a different package. No explicit content, just the bare truth, laced with evidence of her lies and misuse of time. Their reply came in 2 days. We are currently reviewing internal ethics concerns and suspending all external representation until further notice. Corporate speak for, you're toxic now. She came home pale that night. Something's happening at work. Yeah, I said, folding laundry. Consequences. The final strike. Her secret world, the lifestyle club she'd built her fantasy around. A community with strict codes, consent, honesty, transparency. When I sent the moderators her own messages, Jake doesn't need to know everything. They responded fast. Banned. Permanently blacklisted from every event, every circle she'd used to hide from me. She tried to reach out. They didn't even bother replying. That night, she sat on the couch, staring at her phone like it had betrayed her. I don't understand, she whispered. Everyone's shutting me out. I leaned against the wall. Because I told them the truth. Not the version you curated, everything. Tears welled in her eyes. Jake, what did you do? Nothing more than you deserved. She opened her mouth to speak. I stopped her. You used me, lied with my name, built a fantasy world, and painted me into it like I was a prop. You didn't just hurt me. You erased me. She didn't say another word. She couldn't. Everything she'd built burned to ash. And I never had to raise my voice. Chapter 5. The Fallout. A week later, Claire moved into her sister's guest room. She packed in silence. No pleading, no desperate explanations. Just a quiet resignation, as if she finally understood she was no longer the main character in her fantasy. I watched her from the hallway as she loaded her car. 1 suitcase, 1 storage bin, a box labeled essentials. The smallest move out I'd ever seen. No more social sanctuary, no more curated facade. She deleted her Instagram, but not before I saw the comments. A few vague, piercing lines. Disappointed in who you turned out to be. You used your husband like a prop. You don't get to preach honesty while lying to everyone around you. Then her account vanished, her digital mask gone. Her image as a sex-positive, emotionally evolved, radically honest woman, now a cautionary tale in every group chat she once dominated. She didn't lose followers. She lost credibility. And in her world, that's the only currency that ever mattered. Professionally, she was done. Not fired outright, but reassigned. Moved from community engagement to quiet internal admin. No more spotlights, no more panels, no more interviews. A silent exile. The kind of shuffle you give someone you can't trust, but can't fire outright. Word spread. Her new boss told someone. Keep her off anything public. She's not clean enough to represent us anymore. That cut deeper than any words I could have thrown at her. Her lovers? Gone. Claire thought her backup plan would hold. That if I left, she'd still have them. The men and women who called her goddess, wildflower, queen. But once the truth came out, they ghosted her, blocked her. Some left chats without a word. One told her straight up, "You lied about your husband. That's not ethical. You're not safe." They didn't just leave her, they branded her as a threat. In a world built on transparency, she became the thing everyone warns each other about. And me? I didn't feel rage anymore. I didn't need to shout my side. I didn't need revenge porn. I didn't need to scream about justice, because justice had already been served. Quietly, fully, I kept the house, kept my job, kept my peace. Started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I refused to carry her damage into my future. And every night I slept alone, I slept deeper, because no one was lying beside me anymore. Chapter 6. The moral people think revenge feels like fire, loud, explosive, hot. But it doesn't. Real revenge feels like silence. The kind that settles in after the smoke. The kind that forces the guilty to sit with themselves when there's nothing left to hide behind. That's what she has now, silence. No applause. No admiration. No stage. Just a mirror and a memory of everything she thought she could control. Crumbling. What I took back. She used my name as her shield. Told people I was supportive, that I was the reserved one, the one who wanted privacy. But I wasn't private. I was unaware. I wasn't consenting. I was being used. The moment I realized that, I stopped grieving what I lost and started reclaiming what was always mine, my identity, my dignity, my narrative. Because love isn't about covering for someone who erases you. It's about knowing when to stop handing them the pen. To anyone being lied to, right now. If you're listening and something in your gut feels off, listen to it. If they tell you you're too insecure or controlling for wanting the truth, consistency, or respect, you're not crazy. You're probably being lied to, manipulated, played. And it's not your job to wait for their honesty. It's your job to build your exit, calmly, quietly, effectively. Because when someone betrays you and uses your loyalty to cover their lie, the most devastating thing you can do is leave them with the truth. Let it burn everything they built on your back. The final word, I never screamed. Never threw her out. Never forced anyone to choose. I just showed them the truth. And now she walks alone in the world she created. No mask, no stage. While I walk in peace. Not because I won, but because I let her lose. Without taking me with her. Was this revenge justified? If you think so, like the story and subscribe to the channel. Share it with others. Let us know in the comments below. If you're into real, jaw-dropping pro-revenge stories that keep you hooked, don't just scroll. Smash that subscribe button and share the story. Fuel more tales like this one. Your support helps us bring these powerful stories to life. Every like, every share, every subscription, it truly means the world to us. Thank you for being part of Lauren's story, where every tale has a shadow and every betrayal leaves its echo.